All right, so what questions do y'all have over these that we need to go over? One thing would be anything to the 0 power. What will that be?
1.
1. So all of these are 1s?
Can you do 16?
Yes. Let's look at 16. So I'm going to write it down. So this is practice, slide 18. And yeah, the negatives would definitely be ones I'd want to go over with you. Because, man, that is a lot of negatives. So let me pull it up. All right, so what we need to do, so we're not just writing the answer, we are writing how to simplify this. So let's look and see, what would we do with this exponent? We would multiply it to that exponent, right? Because this is a -2 to the -4, So this negative is out front. But this whole thing is to the -2. So we would have -2 to the 8th power. Right? Because this is to the -4, but then this is to the -2. Okay. What do y'all think about that?
Would you not multiply the -2 times -2?
In what? The -2 times what?
The -2 on that.
Down there?
Yeah.
No, you multiply it times its exponent.
Okay.
Because if you think about it, if it's like 5 to the 2nd power, then we would do multiply this 1 times this 2, and that'd be 5 squared. Okay, so the -4, but I wonder if we need to simplify first this before we go and do this, because I'm really unsure on that. I really don't like this negative exponent. I'd rather get rid of that now. So I'm going to do it a different way and see if it still comes out to this, because I'm concerned about that negative, which I think the negative is going to go away, but I'm not sure. Because anytime you do a negative power to an even exponent, it's going to make the negative go away. Because if you think about it, a negative times a negative is going to give you a positive. So anytime you have an even number, so like 2 negatives will make a positive, right? 4 negatives will make a positive when they're multiplied together. But if you have 5 negatives, it'll make it a negative, because you would have this extra one out there. So let's say we want to just move this -2 to the -4 and just change that first off. And then let's worry about this in a minute. So that would be, this negative just stays up front, so it'd just be like this. And then we'd have 2 to the -4, which would be taking it down to the bottom, 2 to the 4. The negative is not being taken to the -4 exponent. It's just staying the -2. So then we would do this to the -2. And that's whenever you do your reciprocal. So we would do 2 to the 4th over, but it's also squared now, over -1 squared. Which this would become +1, and this would become 2 to the 8th. So our answer would be 2 to the 8th. And is this one the same thing? Hold on right here. The negative is going to go away because that's an even power, so that also equals 2 to the 8th. So you're probably wondering, why did I do all this work? I did this work to confirm that this was right because of the negatives. And I was worried that I might have done something wrong. So that's why I went ahead and did it a different way to make sure I got the same answer. Since that one was a confusing one. So it is 2 to the 8th power. All right. Let's see. Let's look at number 5. I'm going to write it down. Negative 6x to the negative 2. So if we have a negative 2 power, we get rid of it by doing the reciprocal. So this would be 1 over negative 6x squared. Which then you would have to do negative 6 squared and x squared. Negative 6 squared is positive 36 because it's being taken to an even power. So 36x squared. Because I took this 2 and took it to each one. So the negative might have been where you made the mistake. I'm not sure.
Can you do number 14?
Yes, let's look at that one. Five b negative 4 to the negative 2. Okay, so anytime it's a negative 2 power, I could do 1 over 5b to the negative 4 squared. There's more than one way to go about it, though. But we're going to do it this way. So that would be 1 over 5 squared, b to the negative 8, because you would multiply the negative 4 and the positive 2. And then this would come up to the top, b to the 8 over 5 squared. You could have done it differently. Do y'all want to see it differently, or do you just want to do it just like this? Because I know sometimes that confuses people. B to the 8 over 5 squared, which would be b to the 8 over 25. We could have done 5 over b to the 4th to the negative 2. And then you would do the reciprocal. B to the 4th squared over 5 squared, which is the same, b to the 8 over 5 squared. That one actually looks easier, an easier way. Flipping it in the very beginning where we see that negative 2 exponent. Okay. Do you have any other questions on it?
How does it go to fraction?
Say it.
How does it go to a fraction?
That was the dividing like basis. anytime you have a negative exponent, so I'll show you my notes. Look up at the screen. Anytime you have a negative exponent, you do the reciprocal. So I have 4 to the negative 1, that's 1 over 4. I have b to the negative 2, that goes up to the top to make it a positive exponent. Whenever you simplify, you don't want any negative exponents. So that's part of simplifying. So I'll give you another day to make sure you finish that, and then tomorrow we'll grade it. How about that? Make sure you show your work in your journal. So let's move on to slide 19. And open up your journal and let's do these mixed exponential problems. Woo! That looks fun. So go ahead and write this first one down on there. I'm going to pause it while I write them down. All right, so we'll go ahead and look at the first one. So there are 2 different ways of doing this. The first thing that you'd want to do is take care of the constant. So like 2 over negative 12. That would be the first thing I would look at. Then what you can do is you can go ahead and move those negative exponents to the right spot, to the reciprocal. So anytime you see a negative exponent, change it to positive and move it to the numerator or move it to the denominator, whatever is opposite. Then you can simplify after that. Get rid of negative exponents. All right, so let's look at it. So I'm going to do the 6 over the 12 first. What does that equal? 1/2. So 1 over 2.
Wait, what happened to the negative? 12 is negative.
Let's see. Oh, negative right here. Good catch. So this stays negative. We can just pull the negative out front because there's no other operation being done to it. The negative could stay with the 2, or it could just be out front. All right, the next thing is look for our negative exponents and put them on the opposite. So this is a negative exponent, so I'll put it on the bottom and make it positive. And I want to group my x's together on my y's. So I'm going to go ahead and put the x3 right beside it. It stays. Now the y's. The y4 stays. I circle them as I use them, so I make sure that I'm using all of them and not getting rid of anything. Then the y to the negative 2, it's on the bottom, so it goes to the top. And then the z to the negative 2 goes on bottom. Do I need this one here anymore? No, because there are terms on there. So I still have a negative out front, and this is still a fraction. And this is all being multiplied. So whenever you multiply, what do you do with your exponents? Yep. So this would be y to the 6 on top. And then on bottom, we have the 2. It needs to stay there. And then the x's, we have a 7 and a 3, 10. And then there's no other like term with z, so it's just z squared. That's it. That one wasn't too bad. I hope you think so. Okay, let's do the next one. Make sure you write down all the negatives. I'm double checking mine since I made a mistake a minute ago. So that's probably the thing that gets a lot of people is they don't write it down correctly. And it almost got me. All right, so let's deal with the constants first. So we have a -4 over a -20. Negative and negative become positive. 1/5. Okay. What about the x's? X to the -1, x to the -1. Do I need to move it from top to bottom, bottom to top if they're the exact same? Because what happens whenever you have the same thing on top, same thing on bottom? Yep. It equals 1. You can simplify it out. So we don't even need those x's. You don't need your x. So then what about the y? We can't do that with y or the z. So we'll go ahead and move them. So the y to the -4 becomes y to the +4, but on bottom. So we got that one. Y to the -2 will go up top. Positive. Z squared stays there. And then z to the -1 goes up top as z to the 1.
How do you know like where to put them? Like I'm confused on how you like
too.
figuring
Why do you
out.
flop them?
On like
Anytime you have a negative exponent, if it's on the bottom, you take it to the top. If the negative exponent is the term that's on the top, see how this is on the top? I'm taking it to the bottom to make it positive.
What if you have a positive one? You just
It stays the same. So positive terms, the terms with positive exponents will stay just like they are. We're getting rid of any negative exponents. So the negative exponents, the only way they're simplified is by taking the reciprocal. So if it's on the bottom, you take it to the top. If it's on the top, you take it to the bottom. So whenever I'm saying top and bottom, I'm talking about numerator and denominator. So this one's on the numerator, so it goes to the denominator to make it positive. Okay, we don't need that 1 anymore. Y2 stays where it's at. And then Z, we have Z2 and Z1. So I'd make Z3 because you add them. And then we have 5 y to the 4. But we're not done. What do we need to simplify now? Yeah, the y's. How do you simplify them?
You subtract the one on the top and the one on the bottom as well.
No, the opposite. You said it right the first time. Take the one on top and subtract the one on bottom. So it'd be y to the 2 minus 4 is -2, y to the -2. So where is it going to go? If it's on the top, where is it going to go to make it positive? Bottom. So the only thing left on the top is z to the 3rd power. Bottom we have 5, and then we have y squared. Because if you have 2 on top, 4 on bottom, then there'll be more left on the bottom after you simplify. Because you would have 2 y's on top, 4 y's on bottom. So where are the most y's left? On the bottom. So that's why that is y2. On the bottom. These require some thinking, huh? All right, I want you to do the next 2 on your own, and then we'll check them. So hopefully I've given you enough time to finish these 2. So let's look at the work, and y'all double check me, make sure I did it right. So here's my work. So the final answer is -10 a to the 8 over b squared c to the 7th. Thumbs up if you agree. Okay, good. Then the next one 3 over a squared b to the 7th. Thumbs up if you agree. Okay. All right. So we are done with that. Make sure that you are filling in pictures for each one of these. We are getting close to the end of this unit. So we finished 18, 19. So tomorrow we'll move on to more on exponential functions. Today you have a maze worksheet. Make sure to show your work, and I will pass it out right now and post it on Google Classroom.